Hello and welcome to this module on Power Virtual Agents. And now we're going to build your first chatbot. So you set your environment up and now you're ready to build your first chatbot. Let's talk a little bit around the architecture. So first of all, you need a Microsoft Dataverse environment. So by setting up for that trial, you've also set up a Dataverse environment. You're actually using the default Dataverse environment for that trial tenant that you've created. So you need a PVA bot lives within a Dataverse environment. There's different strategies around building Dataverse environments and things like that. That's out of scope for this topic, but just know that a Dataverse environment can have no PVA bots. It can have one PVA bot, or it can have many bots. You can have as many bots as you like inside a Dataverse environment. It's not a one-to-one relationship. So within the bot, you've then got these things called topics, and there's two types of topics. There are topics that you create, there are user topics, and there are system topics. There are 8 predefined system topics that are always on in a conversation, and then there are user topics that you can create yourself. One or more in a bot. 8 predefined system topics in a bot. And then within each topic, there is a conversation tree. And in that conversation tree, there are trigger phrases that start off that particular conversation. And then within those, there's also these things called entities, which are representations of real-world objects. There are pre-built ones, such as ages, places, email addresses, things like that. There are pre-built entities. And there are also custom entities that you can define. Now, we need to be careful here and not get confused with old Dataverse terminology. So entities used to mean tables. Used to mean things like, a table, a data table. In Power Virtual Agents, custom entities means it's essentially a lookup. A custom entity is essentially like a lookup table, an option set. Entities, at a very basic level, entities are a representation of a real world example. And actually we'll be creating custom entities in the course. So if that was too confusing, don't worry, it'll clear up as the course goes on. And then within the conversation tree, you can initiate Power Automate flows. It can also leverage bot framework skills. In fact, skills are the things that we're using a lot of inside PVA itself, but you can also reach out to bot framework and use additional skills if you need to. So that's the architecture in a nutshell. And how about creating bots? So it follows this cyclical, this cyclical process. You create a bot, you create new topics, create the conversations, test it, publish, measure performance, and then start again. Revising the bot, revising the topics, revising the conversation, testing, publishing, measure. And you go on these iterative cycles. Really leverages or really works in tandem with an agile build methodology. Being able to build something, get the good enough version out there, watch what happens in the wild, and then rapidly revise and improve on an ongoing basis. So how do we create a chatbot? Well, we open up the Power Virtual Agents Designer and we click on New Bot. In the New Bot, we create the bot, and once you've created it, you give it a language. A bot can only have one language. So you can create it in as many languages as there are in the as many as are supported in Power Platform, but each bot can only speak one language. Once you've created the bot, you'll then see all the topics within that bot. There are some that are created out of the box, and then you'll see the system topics, and I'll give you a little tour of these before I release you to go and do the lab. But it always comes with these 4 user topics, and the 4 user topics are useful to get familiar with the structure, and then the system topics are always on and built in. You'll define, so when you create your own topics, your own user topics, you'll define trigger phrases. Now, a trigger phrase is a way to describe the intent of what the customer's trying to do. So maybe they are wanting to return a product, which is what we're going to do in the lab. So return a product might be things like, You know, return a product, send something back, need a refund. You know, there's different ways of asking that particular intent. So my intent is to return an item, but people may say it in different ways, and that's what's known as a trigger phrase. Now, with trigger phrases, you provide a few trigger phrases, and then natural language processing will pass what the user is saying and try to match that using NLP to one of the trigger phrases to then kick off the topic. And that's how that works. Now, once the topic has been initiated, you then need to control the conversation. And the way you control the conversation is you use something called the authoring canvas to then look at the conversation tree and add in various messages that you want the topic, how you want the conversation to flow. These things are called nodes, and you add different nodes into the authoring canvas, into the conversation, to control either sending a message or asking the user a question or doing something in Power Automate. You do all of that in the authoring canvas. There's also the on the left hand side there, you can see there's the ability to test the chatbot as you're going along. There's a toggle up here called track between topics. What that will do is, as the bot is going through the different topics, it will move you to that part of the conversation in the authoring canvas, using the authoring canvases of those topics, which is a really good way of watching the flow of the bot in detail. You can then publish to the demo website when you're ready. You can publish and then send that out to colleagues. Once you share that, people can go in and try the bot. Really useful for getting some quick feedback from colleagues on what's going on before you actually publish it to a real life site. So maybe you're creating one for a HR team. Maybe you want to deploy it to them first, or a subset of users. You can publish it to a demo site and get feedback, instant feedback straight away. And you actually get a lot of analytics. We will cover analytics later on. We won't have a lot of data because obviously we're just using a test bot with very, very limited data, but you'll see where to go to see these analytics, and at least have a way of looking at what's going on. And we'll cover this more in the session later on in the course. So in summary, Power Virtual Agents, we're going to create a chatbot in a few minutes. Not in a few minutes, in a few seconds, but literally it'll create in a few minutes. It's got this easy to use designer with very logical layout in terms of building these experiences. It's part of the Power Platform, built on Microsoft Dataverse with access to all of the stuff, all the good stuff that brings as well. So build your first chatbot. We're going to go straight into lab. I'll set it off on the lab. So this is, first of all, of course, you need to have downloaded these, the documents. Make sure you've got the September 2021 version. Obviously things may change. If you do choose to download the ones from Microsoft and get the latest version of these, just recognize that things might be a little bit different. In fact, indeed, in these September documents, the platform is definitely going to have changed. So just be mindful that there might be a flexibility in terms of where things are. But it should be easy to work it around. But the platform's always evolving. The documentation's always evolving. So just be mindful of that as you're going through things. With the documents, it is good to read the scenarios and read the documents as well as clicking along with these. Gives you good background, and they're really solid documents. They're really good lab documentation. So let me step through the interface before you go off and do those. So one way of you should be on this page already if you've logged into your demo tenant that you set up already. If you haven't, then just sign in and go to powerva.microsoft.com, and then it will prompt you to sign in. And then once you sign in, it will then take you to a page. Now this page might not have. It might say new bot here or create a bot or something like that, and that's what you need to do, is create a bot. So wherever it says create a bot, go ahead and create the bot. When you create it, I think the labs say something like user one. So Contoso customer service. So you can name it whatever you like. Just know that that's going to be what we like in the documentation moving forward. Obviously, it's your bot, whatever you've called it. The other thing to know is environments. In your demo environment, in your demo tenant that you've set up, you'll only have the one environment. Choose that one. That's totally fine. Yeah, that's it. There's the option to create a new environment. There's no need to do that. You can just use the demo one that's already created. It can take 2 or 3 minutes to create the bot. Often the page will load here before the bot's finished, and it will have a bar up here saying we're still building your bot. Highly recommend you wait for that to finish, because some of these things over here might not be built yet. So just wait for it to look something like this. Once it looks something like this, you'll either be on the home page. I think it takes you to the topic page by default. And here's where you can see the topics. Here's where you can see topics here. These are the inbuilt system ones that I mentioned before, and these ones here are the ones that are created as a demo for you. Highly recommend clicking in these and having a look around them. Definitely. You've got a few options. So here you've got, as you hover over these, you can go to the authoring canvas here. You can look at analytics for that particular topic. You can make a copy of it, or you can delete it. Know that once you've deleted it, it's gone forever. So sometimes maybe an option is to just turn it off rather than delete it. If you've got lots of topics, the search bar over here is handy. And I think that's it for topics. Yeah, I'll let you explore authoring canvas when you're doing the lab. You've also got entities. If you go into entities, so these are what I mean by entities. So things like colors, things like email addresses, durations, countries. These are all pre-built out of the box entities. We'll be creating an entity later on today, later on in the course. So, yep, just good to know what they are. Analytics. Again, we'll be light on data on our test, but this is where you'll go and you can see some of the reports that are available. And then publish. This is where you publish it to various channels to be able to see the bot. And then other things in here that we'll cover some of these a little bit later on, but not in a great detail. As you're building out topics, if you close this and you want to get it back, it's clicking on this button down here to test your bot. So if you lose that, then it's that to get it back. And I think that is it. That should be enough for you to get on with lab number 2. So lab number 2, build your first chatbot. Off you go. And if you need any support, we are here on the chat. Just hit out on the chat in the course and log a ticket, and we'll help you out as much as we can. Thank you, and see you in the next module.